Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our presentation on Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. My name is Melissa Prentice. I am the Outreach, Education, and Prevention Coordinator for Bay Area Turning Point.
And my name is Naila Hairston, and I am the Counseling Services Manager. Bay Area Turning Point was incorporated in November of 1991. Bay Area Turning Point is a nonprofit agency that provides services to individuals impacted by domestic violence and sexual assault. The objectives we will cover today is we will define teen dating violence. You will learn the different types of violence. You will be able to identify warning signs, become familiar with risk factors for perpetration, identify steps to take if a teen is in an abusive relationship, develop safety plans when breaking up and after a breakup, identify coping mechanisms, and you will also learn about healthy relationship behaviors. So, what is teen dating violence? Teen dating violence can be defined as a pattern of abusive behaviors to exert power and control over a dating partner. Teen dating violence is a form of intimate partner violence. Teen dating violence statistics: 1 in 10, totaling 1.5 million, high school students nationwide have been physically abused by their partner. 1 in 3 girls are victims of some form of abuse, being physical, verbal, emotional, sexual, or etc. from their partner. 1 in 11 girls and 1 in 14 boys have been physically abused by a dating partner. Among victims, 94% of girls ages 16 to 19 were victimized by a current or former partner. Youth begin to display violent behavior between the ages of 12 to 18. The severity beginning in adolescence. 33% of abused teens spoke up about the abuse. 81% of parents don't think it's an issue. 82% of parents say that they can identify warning signs, but 52% of those parents could not identify warning signs. These statistics are astounding. So there are several different types of violence. So you have physical violence, where someone may physically harm you, hit you, slap you, punch you, any type of physical violence. Verbal violence, where they speak to you negatively, they may curse at you, they may yell at you, they may say demeaning things to you. Emotional and psychological violence, and these types of violence can happen with different things that they may say. They may withdraw attention and cause you to isolate yourself from your family as well. Sexual violence, which is any unwanted sexual contact that is not consented. Financial violence, where they may take your money, they may withhold money from you so you don't have any control of any of the financials pertaining to you. And digital violence, where they do negative things to you on social media, say negative things about you on social media, and verbally assassinate you on social media. So, what are the
Let's look at some of the warning signs of teen dating violence. Partners that are abusive will try to isolate their partner. So they'll try to cut them off from any kind of support system that they have, whether that be parents, friends, anybody that's trying to support them. They cause physical harm. You'll see bruises or scratches, name calling, going back to the verbal abuse that we just talked about. That's part of it, is name calling, making somebody feel bad about themselves. Possessiveness, blaming and minimizing, making the abuse seem like it's not a big deal or that somebody did something to deserve the abuse. Shaming, pressuring the other partner to have sex whenever they don't want to. Putting a partner down. Again, going back to that verbal and psychological abuse, making them feel like they're less than. Mood swings, and these are extreme mood swings. Checking a partner's phone or social media, demanding passwords. Y'all, nobody should be demanding your password unless you are somebody that just has a really bad memory. I'm guilty of this. I can't remember half of my passwords. So I do have a trusted person in my life that knows my passwords. Because if I forget something and I need to get into it, they know my password, but they're not going to try to hack into any of my accounts to try to steal from me or spy on me. But if somebody is trying to demand your passwords or search through your social media or your devices, that is an unhealthy behavior, and that is a warning sign of abuse. Telling somebody what they can and can't wear, or what they can and can't do, or who they can and can't hang out with. Intimidating looks, threats, destroying belongings, controlling daily activities, and intimidating somebody with weapons. So, what are some of the risk factors that will lead somebody to be a perpetrator of domestic violence? Modeling within the family. Y'all, this is one of the biggest ones, is modeling within the family. If you see abuse in the home, or you are experiencing abuse in your home, that is one of the biggest risk factors, because that's normal to you. If you grow up in that kind of environment, that's what is normal. Now, I'm here to tell you that this is not normal. Abuse in the home is not normal. Abuse, period, is not normal. Gender socialization. This is basically what society tells us it means to be a man and it means to be a woman. So society puts us in these boxes, and if we try to get out of those boxes, by their definition, they try to stuff us back in that box. And that can often lead to abuse if we refuse to go into that box that society has put us in. Violence is positive reinforcement. Using violence to get one's way without any kind of negative consequences. Expression or suppression of feelings. So a lot of times people that are perpetrators of abuse don't understand how to express their feelings. They think that showing feelings is a sign of weakness. Now, what I like to compare this to is a Coke bottle. Whenever you shake up a Coke bottle, pressure builds up and then it explodes. This also happens whenever you start suppressing your feelings. You start having this pressure build up inside of you, and then eventually you just explode. So it's important to know that it's okay to express your feelings. Association between anger and violence. Anger is an emotion. Violence is a behavior. They are two completely different things. So just because you're angry does not mean you have to be violent. There's several ways to deal with anger, such as going for a run, meditating, praying, doing something to get your mind off of that anger. Anger is normal, and it is a healthy behavior or a healthy emotion. You just have to know how to deal with it in a healthy manner. Now, abusers will turn to violence. That is an unhealthy manner of dealing with the emotion of anger. And then self-worth. So what will happen in abusive relationships is the perpetrator will oftentimes make the victim feel bad about themselves and will try to lower their self-esteem and their self-confidence, when in actuality, they're the ones that don't feel lovable. They feel like they can't be loved, so they have to force somebody and control somebody into loving them. So what can you do if you're a teenager and you're in an abusive relationship? We just went through several of the warning signs. Know what those warning signs are. Know what they look like. Reach out to a trusted adult. Oftentimes we do want to reach out to our peers. I did it whenever I was a teen. I'm sure Naila did it whenever she was a teen. We want to reach out to our peers, but they do not have that expertise and experience that is needed to help you get through this. The best thing that your friends can do if you go to them with a situation like this is go with you as a support to go talk to a trusted adult. Document any kind of incidents. Save texts. Keep track of dates. Don't delete anything until you have that in the hands of the proper people that need it, mainly the authorities if it gets completely out of hand. And we suggest keeping it on a flash drive. A lot of times we will keep things saved in our phones or on our computers, but what if something happens to our phone or happens to our computer? It's good to have a flash drive with backup evidence on it. Be mindful of social media presence. It is very dangerous to post personal information on social media. Constantly posting where you are, constantly checking in where you are, because you're telling people exactly where you are and exactly what you're doing. And even if you have an abuser blocked on social media, that doesn't mean somebody else can't go look at your page and screenshot things and send them to the abuser. So it's very important to keep your profile private. Don't keep your location services off. Don't post any personal information. Don't post your address. Don't post where you are constantly. Keep that to yourself in private. Call a domestic violence or sexual assault center. I wish I knew about these whenever I was younger, because teen dating violence has been a thing for a long time. But whenever we were teenagers, we didn't know what this stuff was. So y'all have such an advantage having centers like this at your fingertips, and we are one of them. Bay Area Turning Point. We'll be putting our information up at the end of the presentation. And then you want to develop a detailed and personalized safety plan, which we'll go over here in a few minutes. Breaking up safely. So this is the beginning part of your safety plan. If you're in an abusive relationship, it's time to get out of it. So how do you do that without getting hurt? If you don't feel safe, don't break up in person. I know that is one of the biggest things that everybody always says. If you're going to break up with somebody, do it in person, because that's the right thing to do. That's the ethical thing to do. But I'm here to tell you that is not the right thing to do if your safety is in jeopardy. If breaking up in person will jeopardize you. If you are breaking up in person, do so in a public place. Make sure there's people around. Abusers are a lot less likely to act out if there's other people around. Don't explain your reasoning more than one time. Most of the time, people feel the need to go back and explain their reasoning again. Well, this is why I'm breaking up with you. I told you why I'm breaking up with you. This is why. I'm here to tell you that does not matter to them. Your reasoning does not matter to them. What they are trying to do is convince you that you're wrong and breaking up with them, and they are trying to change your mind. So don't explain yourself more than one time. And then tell family and friends. Make sure that people are aware of what's going on. So if they do come around, then they know not to let the person in, not to engage with the person, and to keep you safe. So safety planning. Safety plans can be very long and very detailed depending on the situation, but these are some basic safety tips that you can follow. If your ex visits your house, don't answer the door. Make sure everybody in the home knows not to answer the door either. Change all of your online profiles to private. Make sure that they don't have access to your profiles, and make sure that they're blocked. Don't walk around alone or distracted. Oftentimes we walk around with our phones, or we're fumbling for our keys, or something or another is distracting us. Mainly it's the phones these days. We're sitting there texting somebody or looking something up. And that is very dangerous whenever you're distracted and walking around alone. Keep family and friends close in areas that your ex might be. So if you're at school and you have to pass by your ex, make sure you have somebody with you. If you go out and about to sporting events or to the gym or to the grocery store, and your ex also frequents that grocery store or gym or whatever the place is, make sure you have somebody with you so they don't try to do anything. Even if that's just coming and talking to you, make sure that you have somebody with you. Memorize phone numbers. We rely too much on our cell phones these days. I know I do that. I know a lot of people do that. I don't have very many numbers memorized, but let's just take me for example. What happens if something happens to my phone and I can't access my phone numbers? I need to have some phone numbers memorized. So that's why we say memorize a few numbers, even if it's just one or two numbers. Make sure you have phone numbers memorized. And then if things really get out of hand, call 911. The police are there to keep you safe, and they're there to document incidents. And the more documentation you have of an incident, the more likely it is for you to be able to get a protective order against the person, which will keep them away from you. Or it is supposed to. It is a piece of paper. But if they violate that order, then that's some serious time, or serious fines and serious time that they could do in prison.
So there are quite a few different ways to cope with ending a relationship. If you're in a relationship with someone who is harming you in any way, shape, or form, have a support system. And your support system can look several different ways. Your support system consists of your family, it consists of your close friends, it can even consist of some of your teachers if you trust them. So make sure you have a support system and you're able to identify the people who are in your support system and why. And like Melissa previously stated, you also want to have those phone numbers memorized, because in the event you need to call someone in your support system and you don't have access to your phone, you want to know those numbers by heart. Find new activities you enjoy doing. So, a lot of times, if you're in a relationship with someone, even when you're a teen, you may always go to the mall together. You may frequent Dave and Buster's together or other local places. What you want to do is do activities that you enjoy doing without that person and that you can do with yourself, family, or close friends. So, you want to make sure that you do things that don't only consist of spending time with that person. So, for instance, if you play basketball at school and you like to play basketball, go play basketball on the weekend with your group of friends, or find another basketball league that you can join. Do things that you enjoy to do, and that will also help you feel better. Hang out with friends, as previously stated, and that can be on the phone. Um, that can be via email. I know TikTok is something that a lot of kids like to use, Snapchat, all of those different things that you like to do with friends. Do that with your friends. I've even seen kids using Zoom to meet up online due to social distancing, just so they can have some time together if you can't do it face to face. You also want to make a list of why this relationship is unhealthy, right? Sometimes counselors will tell you to make a list of why it's healthy and why it's unhealthy. Make a list of why it's unhealthy, and that'll help you identify the reason that you should not be in that relationship. And when you put it on paper, it's hard to ignore some of those facts. So you can make a list of why it's unhealthy, and then you can also talk to your counselor if you have one. If you don't have a counselor outside of school, you could talk to your school counselor. And I didn't say talk to friends, because, of course, your friends don't always know what to do in those situations. And they may encourage behaviors that you shouldn't necessarily do just because they don't know. So when you know better, do better. So with that list of unhealthy reasons about the relationship, talk to an adult about it. Self-care. Engaging in self care is so important. And self care can look so many different ways. So, self care could be going to the gym and exercising, it could be journaling. Self care could be listening to music, taking a hot shower while listening to music, taking a hot bubble bath with candles lit and aromatherapy, because that helps calm you down and that helps with your senses as well. Practicing mindfulness, practicing yoga, several things you can do for self care. So, all the things that you enjoy to do for self care, do those things. And that helps you cope and that helps you get through the difficult times. And access counseling. You can talk to your school counselor, of course, but I would encourage you to talk to your parents as well. If you have a healthy relationship with your parents and you feel like that's a safe place, talk to your parents. Talk to an adult about access to counseling and different things you can do for counseling. As Melissa previously stated, you can contact Bay Area Turning Point, because we do cater to domestic violence and sexual assault survivors. So we could provide trauma informed counseling, and we also have support groups available where applicable. And if we're not local, you can contact a local domestic violence or sexual assault shelter to get the assistance that you need and to help you process through those thoughts and feelings. Remember, how you think affects how you feel, and how you feel affects how you behave. So you want to be aware of the kinds of thoughts that you're having. And in counseling, you can process through those in a safe, non judgmental place.
So, we've talked about what the risk factors are and what the warning signs are, and how do you cope with that. Now, how do you prevent this from happening from the beginning? This is where we go over our healthy relationship behaviors. So, one of the big ones is healthy communication, making sure that you communicate in an assertive manner. So, you're firm, you're clear, and you're respectful in your communication. Healthy boundaries. Everybody needs to establish boundaries. If something makes you uncomfortable, you need to establish that boundary with your partner. If they don't respect that boundary, then this may not be the proper relationship that you need to be in. So if you feel uncomfortable doing anything, you should not feel like you should be forced to do it. Healthy conflict resolution. Conflict is normal. Conflict is always going to happen, and conflict can be healthy. However, whenever it comes to fighting or bullying, that's whenever it's not healthy. So there are healthy conflict resolution styles. You can collaborate with each other. You can, collaboration is probably one of the big ones, having some give and take. Okay, so let's use football, for example. I know we got Super Bowl coming up. So say, for example, a girl wants to go to the mall and go shopping, but the boy wants to watch football. How are you going to compromise on this? Maybe go shopping before the game and then watch the football game. Or you can push shopping to another day and focus on football that day. Maybe go shopping on Saturday and then watch football on Sunday. This is compromising. You can come to a compromise whenever there's conflict. You can collaborate whenever there's conflict. Establishing mutual respect and trust. Partners need to be able to trust each other, and they need to respect each other. They need to respect each other's boundaries. They need to respect each other's decisions, and they need to trust each other. Now, going back to what I was saying earlier about demanding passwords and going through devices, that's not showing trust if you feel like you got to go through your partner's devices or demand their passwords. Knowledge of consent. This is giving permission to do anything. If you are uncomfortable with it and you don't give your permission, the act stops right there. This goes to even just giving somebody a hug. I'm not the huggiest person in the world. And I appreciate it whenever people ask me, hey, can I give you a hug? And if I say no, I expect them to respect that. Increase self-confidence. We want to make sure that we're confident in ourselves, we're confident in our own abilities, and we know what our self-worth, we know what we're worth, we know our self-worth. We have a positive self-esteem. So try to think of ways that you can build your self-confidence, because that will eliminate a lot of abuse on both sides. Because we talked earlier about how abusers themselves often feel unloved. And so they need the love of somebody else, but they feel like they have to force it. So how do you make it to where you don't have to force it, where you love yourself and that is enough? Showing empathy. This is showing somebody that you understand where they're coming from. You understand that you don't understand. That's a phrase that we like to use. You may have been through the same thing, so you can understand how bad the situation is, or even how good the situation is. You understand it. You try to put yourself in their shoes. But what you do need to understand is that we're all our own unique individuals. You and I can go through the same exact experience, but we're probably going to process it differently and deal with it differently. So examples of empathy is, just sitting there with somebody saying your feelings are valid. Just letting them know that their feelings are valid, not necessarily sitting there giving somebody advice because you've been through it. Just saying your feelings are valid. I'm here to listen to you, and then actively listening to them. And then connection. This kind of goes with support. We all need somebody to connect with. We all need somebody that's going to support us. Connection is so important. Thank you for joining us today for our presentation on teen dating violence. We hope you did take something away from this, and we hope that you start practicing some of these healthy relationship behaviors so we can eliminate violence. As stated before, we have our contact information here. This is our 24-hour crisis hotline. You can contact us at that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We also have our main office line, which is open during business hours. So that phone number is 281-338-7600. you can contact us at that phone number from 8 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday and 8 to 3 on Fridays. And then you can also go to our website at bayareaturning.org. Thank you.
Thank you.